All standby passengers, see me at the podium for your seat assignment.
Non Rev Lounge is a travel and aviation podcast. Monique, Lara, and Tyler are three friends that work for a major airline as gate agent, flight attendant, and ramp worker. During this podcast, they will discuss using their flight benefits to travel the world, as well as talk about things that happen at work. They have guests on almost every week to share their travels and stories, leaving tips on the best places to travel or things to do. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Non Rev Lounge. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tyler.
I'm Monique. I'm Lara.
And we are glad to be back with you guys. Thank you for joining us. It's been kind of a sad week, as many of you know. We had an episode recorded already, and we didn't think it fit the mood for the week, so we're going to save it for a few weeks. And we still wanted to talk. We thought, well, we could either just take a week off, which would have been understandable, but thought it would be nice just to get together because the three of us haven't even talked. It's been a couple of days now since the accident, and we just wanted to do a short episode and talk to you guys, talk to each other, and talk through some things, and let you know we're still thinking about everybody. So, how are you guys doing?
Hanging in there. Yeah, I think we're all right, but things are still kind of raw. We're feeling it, all of us.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that happened this week that were kind of, because before the plane crash, there was a ramper that was killed in Charlotte. Every time that happens for our airline or any airline, it kind of makes you take some time to think about a lot of things and wonder. And I've been thinking about it a bunch, just that even before we get the accident. And how did it happen? Because we do trainings all the time, and there's so many little procedures, but it's so easy at work. And maybe you guys agree. We go to work and it's kind of the same thing every day. If you're working a flight to Mexico or you're working a flight to Salt Lake, you're given drinks and snacks, and it's people. And for us, like, you're pushing planes out. I mean, you go through the same steps, and it's easy just to like not really pay attention or focus on what the little things. And I still don't know exactly what happened. I'm sure that they'll come out and talk about it. But when it happens for any airline, when someone loses their life. And so I just take time to remember. And I know that after the ramper was killed, Lara, she always say stay safe. And it's like, it's nice, but but it kind of hit home the first couple of times after. What we do is very dangerous for all of us.
Yes.
But
well, so for those who may not know, yeah, there was a ramper in Charlotte who was hit and run over by a tug. Yeah. So that
a big tug.
Yeah. But
yeah.
So just if that's kind of what had happened earlier in the week. And
sorry, that wasn't as big publicized still as the plane crash. But that was something that, so a ramper was killed.
Like
I think
that,
it was pretty,
yeah.
And I still don't, but it's easy just to kind of like, you go and push planes back, you're driving around the ramp. I even heard last night there was like you said, this one, I got hit by a tug in Chicago. So it was interesting. I was talking to a guy that just transferred Phoenix from JFK, been there forever. And you know, in JFK, how we have the terminals are like separated. When Phoenix, we walk between those all the time, and in JFK, it's against the rules. Like, you get written up if you walk, even though they're really close, fairly close. And so when he said that he first transferred and he saw people walking across, he's like yelling, like, "You're going to get written up."
He's all NOV.
Because I guess someone had got ran over in JFK. So now you can't walk across, you can only drive across.
Oh, wow.
And like, we're just constantly back and forth. But it's just easy to kind of get complacent with things. So it's really sad.
And you guys are always wearing, ear protection like this. And so you're not really, you can't hear either. And you got the engines going, you got these, there's a lot happening on the ramp. A lot of like emergency things going on.
Or like potentially dangerous things. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had that going on. And even your son, Drew, sent me a video. There was a video of the guy getting killed. I still haven't watched it yet. I don't want to see it.
He told me not to watch it.
I want to see what got him into that position so we can avoid it for ourselves. And I'm sure the training for all airlines will come out. So what may have But it's very sad whenever it happens. I know that our friend Melissa in Austin, there was one of her coworkers that was killed a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I remember that.
They're still pretty emotional about it. It's hard it's hard whenever you lose someone. Like you lost a coworker, you could talk about it, the flight attendant, and it's hard.
Well, because you go to work and you expect to be able to come home. Like you expect all your coworkers to do their job and then go home. So when that doesn't happen, you're like, wait a minute, that's not supposed to happen.
So I've been trying to think. Since the accident happened, it's Sunday. We're recording Sunday morning, and that was a couple of days ago. It was Wednesday night, and we decided we're going to put something up, but we're not sure. So I've been thinking, what are we going to talk? There's a plane crash close to home. What are we going to say?
Well, for me, it really hit home because my whole family's aviation, that lives here in this house. He's like, so both Dave and I are flight attendants, and our son is in training to be a commercial pilot. And so that really will be the aircraft he will be flying. So that was sobering,
Yeah. And I think, so as I was going over what should we talk about, and I know Monique had something she sent to us, but I was like, what do I want to bring to this conversation today? And I think it hit me on the way home. I think for the last couple of days, it hasn't really hit me. I don't know about you guys, but it's more just kind of like, yes, it happened. It's almost like it happened on the other side of the world, or it was just a story. It hasn't it didn't hit me. It wasn't emotional yet for me. It was more just kind of like facts. And then on the way home, I got thinking about the cruise and just how sad it was. And I know we've joked for a couple of years, Lara, that if you were to die, you gave us permission to use it to publicize the podcast. But I was just thinking how messed up we would be if you were the one that passed away.
Oh yeah.
And that is how those families and friends are feeling of those people. And then it started to hit me because Monique and I work different shifts for the most part, but for some reason the last few weeks we've been able to spend an hour almost a couple times a week, probably just catching up. We haven't been able to do for a long time.
And I got to see you too.
Yeah. Every so often I'll catch you. You're usually coming and running with your friends. But it's so nice just to be able to visit with you and catch up with you again and have you. And there's 67 people now that their families don't have that anymore. And it's just sad because it is close. But then I started getting emotional just because of how much you guys mean to me. And if any of our listeners, any of those people were on that flight, that would have just, we've made so many friends with the podcast and so many friends from work too. So that's my thing. It just kind of hit me hard last night as I kind of was like, oh, no.
Well, when I hang up with Tyler, I always say, stay safe when he's going to or from, to work. I'm always saying that. Excuse me. And when my son leaves to go fly, because, he's flying with people, he's flying brand new pilots. They don't even know what they're doing. And I always tell him, fly safe. And I feel weird if I don't get to say that. And I'll call him or text him that for some reason I missed him and I didn't get a chance to say that to him because I just feel now it's like a superstition. And I know a lot of people have superstitions when they fly, because when I stand there at the front of the airplane saying hello as they're boarding, how many times, and Momo, you've seen that, where they touch the side of the airplane as they get on, either touch it. And then sometimes, they do the cross, everyone has their little superstitions of what makes them feel safe. Those are mine.
Yeah. I was also reminded, so the three of us got a special kind of opportunity when we had our Dallas meetup. Beryl had set up because we were at American Airlines headquarters and they took us into IOC. And did we talk about this on the podcast? Maybe we did a long time ago.
Okay.
But it's kind of like the brain for American Airlines. It's where it's at headquarters, but they have the dispatches in there. It's this huge room with people on the phones. and they're talking to pilots and the crew schedulings and their
hotels, limos, and
they even have like a customer manager like in there as well.
Yeah,
all the different plane types, and yes, every group's kind of represented in this. Like,
yeah, it is 24 hours a day, year round. I mean, it's constantly you calling headquarters, and every airline has them. I got to tour United's recently too. Little different setup, but basically the same idea. Everyone's kind of there. So if a problem with the airplane, with weather, I mean, they're watching everything. And off to the side is a room, kind of like a huge conference room, right? There's tables all the way around, and each table has computers, I believe, up out of it.
yeah. And
so when something like this happens, they bring the heads of every department in the airline, go up to it, kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good way. But it's so that they can talk to people for emergencies, for whether they're rerouting planes. They're trying to decide what is our step, will happen, what can we do to help our employees, the customers. And so the fact that we were in that room, and remember when we were in there, it was kind of like, that was not really a joke, but like, we hope we never have to use this room, but the kind of room that when a plane lands in the Hudson, everyone comes together, or when things happen like that, it's you activate it, you get the heads. And so it's kind of cool to see, but now it's kind of like, oh, we were in that room where they were making decisions, and they weren't able to save one, but they were able to hopefully get passengers back on track, get people, because Monique, you told me, and I think most airlines have this, like there's people that are trained to help. What is that?
So with ours, it's called the care team. And when something like this happens, they're deployed. They send them. So in this situation, they would send them either like Wichita or DC or maybe wherever they need them, depending on families of the victims and things like that. And they go from just getting lost items taken care of for the families, helping with, I don't know all the details because I'm not part of it, but that's from my understanding. Yeah, they help with funeral plan. They'll help with everything. And so people like are sent out to help with all of that kind of stuff. And they give, like, I was hearing they were calling them that night. So Wednesday in like the middle of the night, agents in Phoenix were getting phone calls being like, all right, you're going at like 6 a.m. You need to have your bag packed and you're on a flight. We've already booked you to DC. Like, you're going.
But though they do, like, you could go training for yearly, don't they, to keep up their,
yeah, because I know a bunch of them just
did
training a couple months ago, but yeah, so a recurrent, you have to be retrained on it. And so, and then what I heard too is they pick your strengths. So some people may be really good with people in crisis, and so they'll deal with that piece. And then other people will help with something kind of maybe behind the scenes that they need. So they'll pick your strengths and really have you help where you're best needed.
I think my strength would be bad jokes. That's ever needed in crisis.
They're like the people who mostly can't handle it. Tyler gets them.
Yeah. But that's good that the airlines have that, because I think Angie, for her airline up in Salt Lake, she's on that team or something similar to that, where she'd
be so good at that.
Yeah. And it's good that they are able to do that quickly, get that out there. So,
well, she is currently on vacation right now in Hawaii and really, really struggled with whether she should go or no. And I felt bad that she was struggling because she was going with a friend and everything had been planned. So, yeah, I also heard from another flight attendant at United got a hold of me and was really struggling and asked me for tips. How do you get through situations like these? And I'm like, man, that's what the EAP is for. They're there to give you tools to help you with that. If you're struggling, that's what the EAP is there for. And we have 4 free visits. As an employee, you get 4 free visits and then they reevaluate. But 4 visits are just trying to give you the tools and get you going. So that's always a good resource.
For sure. Well, I think that it kind of reminds me though so I went downstairs to clock out yesterday and my friend down there had a blue ribbon on it with the flight number, like kind of ironed on. So it looked really nice. And so she had it pinned on there. I was like, where did you get that? And she said, a Southwest agent from across the way, because in Phoenix, we're across the way from each other. But so a whole nother airline had made pins for our agents down at the ticket counter to show like their love and support. So just kind of reminded me, like, it's not just one airline that was affected by this. Like, it's the whole aviation community feels this loss. And so that was their way to show their support. And also, like, they're mourning with us as well.
That's what I've seen a bunch of those kind of things. I think Kelsey put up on her Snapchat that Southwest had brought cookies over to everyone and let them know they're thinking about them. And so, yeah, it isn't just us.
No, it's an aviation family.
That's sad. Even in one of our group chats, remember that you read that, Lara, that there's a guy, Ian, you may have met him at Dorkfest, that he's from Singapore, but he flies all over. He's been on Next podcast a few times. He remembered being on one of Ian, flight attendant, his name's Ian, the flight attendant Ian's flights within the last year. He remembered it because his personality was so great that it's set aside, and he felt sad because he remembered how good he was. So I think that we all can leave that legacy with people that they can remember us. I know it's not as easy for me because I don't like people, so I stay away from them. But for everyone that has the opportunity to follow that example and be someone that is remembered for good things.
That has been my thought this last week. If there's been kind of like not like icky flight, but a flight where people are just kind of like moody, and sometimes you match their mood. But that has been a thought of mine of like, oh man, heaven forbid, like something does happen, that's going to be their last thought. Was that a gate agent was kind of grumpy? So it is kind of a weird thought that you never know.
All right, we're going to cut this shorter than our normal shows. Of our moment of silence for everyone. We cut it short. So thank you for listening. Thanks for your support. If you want to reach out to us, if you want to talk to us, we're here. Email us, write us on social media. We know everyone's their own feelings and emotions they're going through.
I wanted to give a big shout out to the people that listened to the podcast that got a hold of me.
Yeah, I think we all have a lot of people that said, "How are you doing?" And I appreciated that. I think.
Yeah, thanks for checking in with me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We'll be back next week. We have a fun guest coming on, one of our listeners. Well, he's kind of a listener. Hopefully we'll be now. But we're excited to have him on, and we will see you next week.
And if you want to, you can find us at the Non Rev Lounge podcast at gmail.com. And everyone stay safe.
Bye.
This has been Non Rev Lounge. This episode was sponsored by Staff Traveler, which is the #1 app to get your non-rev loads. It is used by over 800,000 people from all airlines the world over and built to make your non-rev trips easy and stress-free. Sign up now for free at stafftraveler.com/non-rev lounge.